Right. Okay, this is going to be fun. So today I'm going to talk about the Confession series, the Robin Askwith films. We're going to have a look through this book, The Confessions of Robin Askwith. We're going to talk about the Confession series, the new Indicator box set that's going to come out soon, which I've ordered, and answer the question, the Confession series, harmless fun? And I'm going to answer it straight away. Yes, you randy sods, you saucy gits. No, it is. It's completely harmless. There might be a few things that have not aged particularly well, but 99% of it is just good, silly, carry-on style, fun. There isn't anything in there, that that I think isn't completely harmless and fun and silly and daft and just of its time. I love these little time capsules that these films provide us that we don't get to see very much. It's interesting. There must be an audience if the Indicator series is coming out and a really nice box set. I do have the deleted set of 4 films. That I'm going to sell that and use that to finance the expensive 4K one with all the interesting, fun, behind-the-scenes stuff that's going to be on there, I'm sure, on interviews. I assume there's quite a few interviews. So let's get started. I'm going to take you through this with using the British Comedy Guide just to talk you through the films if you're unfamiliar with them. Maybe make up your mind if you're going to order the set and watch them yourselves. So as we know, the sort of the star of this series is Robin Askwith. There are lots of other giants of British comedy that you'll see pop up throughout. It's sort of maybe seaside postcard style humor. If you're British, you might kind of get that. It's just quite simple premise of Robin Askwith's character, who he plays Timmy Lee in all the films, and essentially he's always getting into trouble that ends up with him sleeping with lots of women. But unlike the there's another series that people sometimes get these mixed up with, and I always forget the name of them. It's like there's Confessions, and then there's I think is he called Barry Evans? I always forget his name because they're just not for me. Where they're very similar, like Randy Adventures of Adventures of a Taxi Driver. Those I always found a bit grimy and a bit grotty, but these ones I never felt like that. So let's get started. Let's go through some of them. Let's start with Confessions of a Window Cleaner, the most famous of the series. We'll start by going through that one. So essentially, Timothy Lee, he starts a window cleaning job. Obviously, he's such a clumsy person. He's always falling down, falling over, causing problems where either him or someone else, usually him, lose their clothes, as you do when you're doing these jobs. So, literally the women are just finding him ultimately irresistible. This first one from 1974, Linda Hayden's in it, who I've just watched a couple of films of hers recently, a couple of horror films and folk horror. She actually was Robin Askwith's girlfriend as well. John LeMessurier from Dad's Army, Joan Hickson, Bill Maynard, Dandy Nichols. Tony Booth kind of plays his more intelligent, I guess Oliver Hardy to Timmy's Stan Laurel. If you'd imagine that Stan Laurel was really randy all the time. So he starts out with his brother-in-law, Sidney Noggett. Okay, only names like Noggett are only in films like these. And basically, he's always getting into trouble. Women are just dragging him into houses. Bubbles are going everywhere. They're leaving the washing machines on. He doesn't get to wash a lot of windows. I'm not even sure how good he is. He falls in love with a young police woman, and yeah, that's about it, really. it was an X certificate at the time, obviously, because there's nudity and things like that in it. And the song in it, This Is Your Life, Timmy Lee, all the songs are like Timmy Lee, all the way through. They got, a wide release and they were quite popular. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share with you a little excerpt from Robin Askwith's autobiography about each of the films. Only a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's not story time with Pug Roll 316, baby. It's let's have a look. So we're just going to talk about the Confessions of a Window Cleaner a little bit. So this was started filming on 10th of February 1974, before I was even born. So I'd hoped for a day relaxing at home, doing bugger all. Building up the big day tomorrow, but it wasn't to be. The phone went at midday. It was Greg. Could I go over to Val's for an emergency meeting? So Val is the director. I sped over to St. John's Wood, expecting to hear that it had been all cancelled and we were to be arrested for pornographic intention. Quite the opposite. At the meeting, I'm told that the shooting was to be extended by 2 weeks. The reason being that Columbia Pictures, insane, now think that the film has worldwide potential, which means we could now shoot the SEX scenes 3 different ways. There will now be an A version, a B version, and a C version. Fucking hell, literally. Oh, okay. So the A version, he says he'll be totally stark. The B version, underpants for him, knickers for the girls, but no bra for him either, I'm sure. The C version, believe it or not, this was to be shagging, fully clothed. I'm saying this is word for word. When I asked who the C version was for, I was told it was for South Africa. I need to spot, and this is how his brain works. I've heard interviews with him, with Robin Askwith. He says, South Africa, Nelson Mandela watching the weekly film show on Robben Island must have thought the world had finally gone completely mad. He's probably not watching it, Robin. He's probably not watching it. So that's my little excerpt from this tome of his bum and his white underpants. So yeah, this is quality thing. But actually, if you do get a chance to listen to any podcast interviews with him, he doesn't do many of them. I think he did My Time Capsule, which is quite a good podcast. He just, once he starts, he never stops. He's just like, the guy is a machine in terms of stories and chatter. And actually, he is a very good actor. I'll give him his credit. I think, he's done a lot on stage as well, but obviously he's known more for this. But he's one of those, he's just throws himself into his performances quite literally in some of these films. So that's Confessions of a Window Cleaner. What comes next, I hear you ask? Well, I'll tell you. Stop being so bloody impatient. Is Confessions of a Pop Performer. Now, this might be my favourite one, because it was written to cash in on the burgeoning pop bands, when, you're talking about peak Rolling Stones, peak Who, real like rock bands in the mainstream, groupies, Marianne Faithfull, all that kind of stuff. So Timmy Lee finds himself making waves in the music scene when Sid takes up managing a pop group. Okay, it's the natural progression from being a window cleaner. So obviously there's a lot of the same cast, same people. Let's have a look at some of the pictures from it. So here he is. Yeah, he's got fags hanging out of their mouths there, cigarettes. I remember this one. The music's not too bad. So essentially, the husbands are jealous of all the women screaming at this band. That causes problems. Sid, his brother-in-law, thinks, obviously he's married, but it doesn't matter. He doesn't care about that. He's thinking, I'm going to get the women being a manager of a rock band. So he kind of, they find a band playing called Kipper, which are kind of like a Bay City Rollers kind of band. And he tries to get them signed up to a contract, and he puts Timmy in the band. I can't remember if Timmy's in the band originally or he puts him in the band. And he finds himself irresistible to all the women anyway. He never seems to know why. He's always like, but yeah, these women are like, he's never like sleazy. He's always kind of surprised by his irresistible charms. So he sits in for the drummer, that's it. And the drummer gets injured and then it takes off. Tim, like, basically people think he is the next Mick Jagger. Essentially, this whole thing is about being like Timmy becoming Mick Jagger, essentially. So, Confessions of a Pop Performer. Let's have a look. Let's have a look and see what pearls of wisdom I found from this book. Oh my God, it's only a couple of quid. There's some pictures in here as well. Quite funny. Now, I say pop performer might be my favourite. I think Holiday Camp is, but we'll talk about that one in a minute. Because I guess that reminds me of being a kid and being around holiday camps and actually enjoying them when I was a kid. I think now they're more like sort of war zones. But I was never a pop performer, so maybe I couldn't identify with this. So the success of Window Cleaner, Columbia reacted by announcing a sequel called Confessions of a Driving Instructor. However, the script had already been written, but and then it carries on and it says Sunday, 9th of November, 1974. So these are all made quite close together. Confessions of a Driving Instructor have been put on hold. Greg and Columbia want to cash in on the pop scene, in quotes. So it is to be Confessions from the Pop Scene. That's not what it ended up being called. Christopher had to create a script pretty sharpish and from scratch, probably from scrap as well. Unlike Window Cleaner and Driving Instructor, there was no book to base it on. Oh yeah, so these came from sort of like little pulp pop novels that people read. Who's reading a sort of, I don't know. There wasn't the internet then, I guess. So the pop scene really was at its height. So I had attended several concerts. First was the Rolling Stones in Wembley Arena. I sat on the fourth row next to Marianne Faithfull, who left in floods of tears as Mick Jagger in his blue shimmering velvet catsuit sang "You Can't Always Get What You Want." Oh yeah, man. 10 feet away. Robert Powell had finished filming Ken Russell's Tommy and had become good friends with Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend. We were given Wayne's World backstage passes for an outdoor concert at Charlton Athletic Football Ground. Bob and I sat cross-legged on stage facing the 60,000 screaming fans. We both went deaf for a week. Richard O'Sullivan and I went to the Rainbow Theatre to see Stevie Wonder. We were invited backstage and sat with Paul McCartney talking absolute cobblers. I love his choice of words. Richard's idol was Stevie Wonder. He was a loss for words, which sat there gaping, which must have been really interesting for Stevie. Other concerts I saw that year: Chuck Berry, Roy Harper, Ron Wood, The Grateful Dead, Jethro Tull, Blimey's been out and about, Don McLean, Crosby, Stills, Nash at Wembley Stadium. I was obviously very excited at making another Confessions film, but deep down I felt we should have continued with the original plan of Driving Instructor. Right, so I was romantically linked in the press with all sorts of people, from Linda Hayden from the first film to Leslie Ann Down. Luckily, the press weren't firing in the same ammunition they are now. Mind you, blah, blah, blah. Then he was on This Is Your Life for Richard O'Sullivan. This is a long bit of information. And then I had one duty left to perform, which was being Father Christmas at Film Producers Children's School. Okay, that's a really strange story. Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that at the school, mate. No, okay. So Confessions of the Pop Scene arrives, only it's called Confessions of a Romp and Roll Star. No, it's not. It was called Pop Performer in the end. So the band was originally called, there was going to be a female band in it called the Climax Sisters, and there was Tony Booth, Bill Maynard, Sheila White, and Doris Hare were all my family, plus Sid and Rosie's one-year-old baby, Jason, played by a young Ewan McGregor. The baby's Ewan McGregor. Carol Hawkins was my love interest, and obviously there's lots of other people in there too. And yeah, let's see. Oh, so there's a football match in it as well. I remember this. And Ray Davies from the Kinks was in this as well. So there we go. Quite interesting. Oh, and Rodney Marsh, Jerry Francis were in there, like QPR players from the time. And he kept seeing Linda Hayden. He was going out with Linda Hayden. She managed to set fire to her seat during the premiere of The Towering Inferno. Better publicity the film could not ask for. I bumped into Rod Stewart on the way. This is just like literally name dropping central. This book doesn't tell us a lot about the film. So let's have a look. Confessions of a Pop Performer. We just had a quick look through it. I think it's okay. I remember a few of those things. The football match was quite comedic, kind of like Benny Hill part, if I remember it correctly. All right, shall we move on? Yeah, let's move on. So the third film after window cleaner, pop performer, was driving instructor. This is one people talk about quite a lot. Here he is with Linda Bellingham there. You may recognise her. I was a bit shocked when I saw her in these because I'd seen her in more straight-laced things when she was younger. She's quite free and easy in this film. So, yeah, they open for driving school, which they are given. It's like one that's falling apart, and they've actually not bought the posh one that's next door. They've bought the really old one that nobody uses. So it becomes called the Nog Lee School of Motoring, Noggett and Lee. Obviously, pop performer, window cleaner. Of course, it's going to be driving instructor. Why even question it? So obviously, the female students more interested in him than keeping their eyes on the road. So the tagline was "Girls Drive Him Wild," and he loves it. An L of a funny movie. This came out in '76, also known as Timothy Lee's Confessions of a Driving Instructor. So yeah, all the songs are like Timmy Lee, like that's how you remember his name, I guess. So Confessions of a Driving Instructor. Shall I have a quick look? Yes, Matthew, let's have a look and see what we've got about Confessions of a Driving Instructor. It's quite a small chapter. Let's have a look at this one. More charity football matches. Dennis Waterman's there singing the theme tune. John Thor, Frank McClintock, Jimmy Hill, Robert Powell. Wow. Well, it doesn't tell me anything about the film. Okay. The final draft of Confessions of the Driving Instructor arrived on my doorstep. I should do this in like a little cheeky Cockney accent or something. I'd made a couple of contributions, both of which I would regret. Oh, that's interesting. Linda's sister Jane had started to have an affair with Stan Bowles, so he moved in. Okay, what's that got to do with this? I was going out with, here we go. Stan came rushing into my bedroom and told me to get into the wardrobe. See, this is real life, is essentially the things that are happening in these. So it's when right. So all about footballers in here, which is quite interesting if you're interested in football. Not so much about Confessions of a Driving Instructor. Here we go. First day of Confessions of a Driving Instructor. Had a good luck call from Lindsay Anderson, who reminded me that the only three things mattered in his life: God, human folly, and laughter. Well, okay. Greg had persuaded Columbia to give us a week of rehearsal, which was a luxury. I rehearsed with Liz Fraser. I knew her quite well socially. Her career had really taken off, starring with Peter Sellers. And one of my ideas was a bonking scene. Of course it was. You randy git. With Liz in a bath. And as we got into our rhythm, our attention is drawn to a large squeaking sound, which is coming from our groin area beneath the surface. Of course, it was a toy rubber duck. Right. Now, that's hilarious. It sounds hilarious when I read it. Just wait until you see it in the film. So they rehearsed that. Obviously, you need to rehearse that. The cast was quite impressive. Tony Booth, we mentioned some before. Obviously, Windsor Davis, lovely boy. Windsor Davis was in there. Jeffrey Hughes, Linda Bellingham, as I mentioned earlier. And although the workload was now reduced to 576 shags, he says, shags. Don't hear the word shag anymore, do you, other than in Austin Powers. And even Austin Powers is outdated. Thanks to the removal of the C version. However, Window Cleaner was a huge success in South Africa, and even more so in Rhodesia, where it beat Gone with the Wind as the nation's most successful film ever. Wow. Okay, that's an interesting fact. So let's go back to the Driving Instructor charity football match. What charity football matches? Did they get time to do any acting? Irene Handel wanted her tiny little Shih Tzu dog in the film, but was not allowed to. And you never knew when she was taking the piss. That's interesting. So a lot of football stuff in here, playing football with people. And on the final day, I was nearly killed. Oh, interesting. I realise now these scenes were scheduled for the last day. Irene Handel could not see very well, and she was not able to drive. She still had to steer the car. Lunacy. Wow, that's interesting. So nearly died on the last day of filming. We would have never have got what is about to come next, which is, I think, my favourite one. And the last of the series, Confessions from a Holiday Camp. Confessions from a Holiday Camp? No. So this one's my favourite one. It's kind of, it takes you back to that time of when you were dragged to freezing cold holiday camps and told that they were amazingly wonderful experiences. Knobbly knees contests, luscious legs contests. I remember all those. Didn't win any of them. Sitting around a freezing cold swimming pool, if they had one. It used to be a thing that I quite liked, which was the arcades. And then after the arcades, when it was the evening, there'd be a show in the club. And then after the club, you get to have fish and chips sometimes. That was quite nice. So this came out in 1977. And this is, probably just bordering on when people were going on package holidays. So maybe not as many people were going to these places. Maybe they were just on the decline a little bit. Similar cast, Columbia Pictures again. It's basically it's called Fun for All Camp. Very similar sort of simple play on words for a lot of the names of characters and places, like in the Carry On films, like Els Bells and things like that in the Carry On Abroad. So Carry On Abroad's my favourite Carry On film as well. So holidays seem to work for me. During summer, the employees are bored to hell. In order to enjoy the summer and have some holiday while working, they celebrate erotic parties. I don't remember any erotic parties. I don't know, like some daft getting caught while they're playing snooker and stuff. This is a great pleasure for them until the arrival of a new manager. Oh yes, it's very, very camp manager who tries to change their bad habits and turns their lives into hell. Yeah. This is the most English one, I think. I mean, they're all pretty English, aren't they? But yeah, that's holiday camp. He tries to get like a beauty contest going. I remember that. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm holding back on rewatching them again, only because I want to watch the new versions when they come. So around this time, I think Askwith was making the Queen Kong film. Obviously, he was becoming really famous with this as well. He'd been in other films in between. So let's have a look. Football match. Scored. Scored. That's nice to know. I mean, this is, if you were looking for a book with lots of football, celebrity football match information, then this is the one for you. So, Confessions from a Holiday Camp. They have a meeting with Columbia Pictures. He gets invited to St. Lucia holiday for two. He was doing so well, and he won the Evening News Awards. They released Window Cleaner and Pop Performers, a double bill in America, which were packing out the cinemas. Wow, that's hard to believe. It was making its way around the world. Driving Instructor was working its way around the world while those two were working their way around as a double bill. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Rhodesia, most English-speaking countries were profitable. Oh, I must have read that wrong. The one exception was the USA, which is strange, being Columbia Pictures, didn't know where they fitted in. The choice was either Mary Tyler Moore comedies or Deep Throat, and we kind of fitted somewhere in between. Only there wasn't an in-between. Benny Hill would change all that at the beginning of the 80s, but by then, for Confessions, it was too late. However, without an American market, it only represented 48% of the world market. The films managed to rake it in. Window Cleaner was shown in Poland, and I was treated like a working-class hero. That's quite nice. It's quite funny. Yeah, that is interesting. And he's got this kind of clowning and film history. I think one of his relatives was a very, very famous black and white silent film actor. So yeah, he's very good physical comedian, very underrated. He's in Horror Hospital as well. He's good in Horror Hospital. So let's see. The creator and author of the series was now a tax exile in the south of France. The producer had changed his Rolls Royce for a Bentley. Norman had bought up half of West Hampstead, and I bought a new set of tyres for my Mini. So the money hadn't filtered down, I guess. Linda was the first choice to go with him. So Linda Hayden was the first choice to go with him on his holiday. However, he made a mistake. She was going out with Howell Bennett. Ooh. So who did he take? He took a friend called Rob. Oh no, he is Rob. He took a friend called Al. Right. Wow. Okay, so then the next chapter, Confessions of a Holiday Camp, the majority of it is about his holiday, but he's going on tour promoting the other ones as well. So let's have a good look. Makeup Call, 1976. So there's a little bit of a gap between these films, I guess. Makeup. This is the call. This is how it's filmed. Okay, 7:15 a.m. Makeup Call. Jane cleaned and redecorated the kitchen. Stan tells me that his greyhound could have been seriously damaged if he'd inhaled the fumes. Mind you, he loved the burnt sausages. Shag Linda in a doorway. Shag Fiona on a sofa. Leave set at 5 p.m. to let Linda shag Fiona. James has gone mad. 7 p.m. meeting with foul guests to put... Oh, no, that's his actual life. I thought it was from the film. Okay. Wow. Don't know how he... I mean... Don't know how he's managed to keep going. He's exhausted. So then I've got a massive lot of pictures. He's talking about nudity in the theatre in West End with films like Hair and O Calcutta. And in this script, he talks, because of the success of Alfie talking to the camera, he talks more, he allows him to talk to the audience, slipping in and out of various comic situations. Believe it or not, the evening started with a... Oh my, come on now, Robin. So, what does Timmy say here? Timmy leaves the name, window cleaning's the game. Oh, so this is like, he has to say this at the beginning of the show, but then he goes into why he's in the holiday camp. I'll finish this one with a little bit of a letter that was printed in the Cork Examiner, because not everybody sort of thought it was as harmless fun as I did or do. So, dear sir, I am disgusted with the Opera House. I am disgusted with Robin Askwith. I am disgusted with Pat Fleming. I am disgusted with the disgusting production of The Further Confessions of a Window Cleaner. Signed, Disgusted of Cock. I should say Cork. I don't know how true that is. I feel like he's made that one up. But, there's lots of buts. However, I would say in this film, particularly the pop performer and holiday camp. In fact, they're all good fun, but this one I think is the sort of the silliest one. It has a song by the Wurzels at the beginning of it as well, and it really is like the best sort of microcosm of the time. So, if you are interested in them, the Indicator box set is currently on pre-order when I'm recording this. It may be available now. I think it's between £40 and £50, depending where you get it from. It's got all 4 films. There is a deleted DVD of it, which has all 4 films on it, which are perfectly good. And you can find some of them on YouTube. That's an interesting book from the parts I've read. I'm not just reading it for the first time. I have read it once before. I've just forgotten most of it, to be honest. So I'm going to probably read it again. You can get this quite cheap online, maybe £4 or £5, like most books that have been... Well, I'm trying to work out when this came out. But the look of him, he's looking not massively different than he does in the films here. So I'm thinking this might come out in the 90s, The Confessions of Robin Askwith. And the pages are a little bit on the yellow side. So, tell me your thoughts of the Confessions series. Should I do a watch party? Should I watch some of them and let you guys watch along? I think Pop Performers on YouTube, maybe we could watch that together. What are your thoughts? Harmless fun or morally corrupt, bankrupt, terrible things that have caused the problems that we have now in society? Is it all Timmy Lee's fault? I don't know. I think it is. No, so, I quite like Robin Askwith. I find him a quite harmless chap. So, your thoughts on this kind of series of films, the Barry Evans ones, which I'm not really a fan of, but these ones in particular I think are good fun. So, I hope you've enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, this little Confessions series discussion, and I'll see you for the next video. If you do like it, I know people say this a lot, and usually say it in the middle, because not many people watch the end of videos, but if you're watching at the end now, I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. And if you could like it or share it or whatever it is that people do, that'd be really cool, just so that I can talk to more people about the things that maybe you enjoy and that I enjoy, like talking about. They're not always the most famous or popular things, but I just think they're cool. I have my little obsessions for and go down these rabbit holes, and then I would move on to the next one. But it's nice to kind of have these as a little record of what we've discussed and chatted about. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Yeah, give me your thoughts. I can take it. If you don't like these, it's fine. It's okay to like a movie. It's okay to not like a movie. So yeah, I'll leave you with that philosophical thought there. I really enjoyed this. Good old Timmy Lee. This is where I should play a little music at the end. Little cheeky cockney. All right.